we are talking about macro beliefs. And for those who aren't aware of that term, what does that mean? What is a macro belief?
So macro belief to me is, where do you think the long-term value for you is going to be stored? That's what I interpret it as. So when I think about long-term, when I think about where I really want my money sitting, like what is that? And I think it's important too to remember it's macro beliefs, not just one, right? So you can have multiple things that you think in the long term are a good store of value. So, I've invested in real estate. I have lots of rentals. I still think real estate is a great store of value long term. I still think there's a ton that can happen there. So that's one of my macro beliefs. I also think, in the crypto space, you hear a lot of people talk about, oh, the US dollar can't be a macro belief, blah, blah. But it's like, guess what? That's what we spend money in. Like that's, so like to say that the US dollar is not my macro belief is a little bit disingenuous, because I know that I'm going to have US dollars in order to do it. Now, maybe I don't store all my value in it, but I have to have some of it. I think that like there are certain cryptocurrencies that have utility that I can see that I want as my macro beliefs. But that's the thing with crypto. There is store of value utility, and then there's also just like ecosystem utility. And I think that it's important to understand all of them, because I think depending on what you're trying to do, like any of those could be a macro belief, or any of them could be a micro belief where you're just like going to hold it for a short amount of time and you're going to sell it and move it into something else. So I think for me, there's Guard and Guard BUSD, that pair, that is a long-term belief for me, just because I know the project, I know the people behind it, and they're very integrous in everything that they're doing. And so I think that there's definitely going to be some long-term value there. But I think also like owning businesses is a macro belief for me. It's like, I think everybody gets wrapped up in it being something fancy and shiny, but to be honest, like, hey, if I can I'll use car washes. I don't know why that popped in my head, because we're going to run out of water, but car washes, like I'm going to buy a bunch of car washes because they cash flow great. And like, there's very low costs, to me, it's like, that's all getting me where I want to, because to me, my macro belief is really about passive income. Like it's about like, what is going to give me the passive income so that I can live my life how I want to. And so I think all of those are, I feel like it's sometimes, I guess I can't say it's a mistake because it's all a personal decision, but to say that it's like, it's all crypto, I just don't buy it. Like crypto is amazing, but like there's other things that have total value that are not going to go down in the future. So that's kind of how I look at it.
Well, I mean, how long has crypto been around?
Yeah,
maybe 10,
let's
give it 15
10 years or so. Yeah.
That's not a very long track record. Well, real estate, hundreds of years,
recording of time.
If not thousands of years, right? People have always needed a place to live. They're always going to need a place to live. I'm betting on that long term. Sounds like you are. I'm also betting on commerce and capitalism, and the fact that our society will continue functioning as a capitalistic society, right? And if that's the case, and we do believe in that long term, owning businesses that produce cash flow are also a good place to put our money. But we also have to recognize that all these different assets have trade-offs, right? Totally. It's a lot easier to just throw Bitcoin in a hardware wallet and forget about it for 5 years and hope that it goes up in value. Right now, it's not a cash flowing asset. So they all have different properties.
Absolutely.
I think I agree with you.
Would you say an infinite number of trade-offs?
I would say that there is an infinite number of trade-offs. You've been paying attention. Dan Nicholson's got in your head. So no, I tend to agree. I do believe, though, that it's easy to get distracted by having too many macro beliefs, right? Because one of the things that we also talk about in the CCA is we want to optimize before we maximize. And, the interest of diversification, oftentimes, people will buy into all these different things and they're not optimizing for any of them. So I think that the way I look at my macro belief is I'm using real estate primarily to fund my solvable problem. And I'm also using crypto as a way to collapse the time there, right? So it's not my reliable side of the barbell. It's certainly the upside part of the barbell, but we have different macro beliefs for different sides. On the reliable side, we want real estate, we want to own businesses, things that have been around for hundreds of years or more, right? Even gold, for example, might be something I would consider holding. Now, when it comes to upside, it's just hard to find a better macro belief than crypto. I just don't know anything that can get you that level of return that quickly.
Mhm.
I mean, do you?
No. I've
So
not.
anyways, no, this is good. If I have had some people asking, like, how do I go about choosing my macro belief? What would you say to that person?
I say that asking someone to tell you what you believe is abdicating responsibility, because I don't know what someone should choose as their macro belief because I haven't lived their life. I mean, I think it really, this shift that we're going through requires more personal thought and personal responsibility about how you are going to end up, because the days of waiting for like a 401k or a pension or social security, what, like, none of those days are around anymore. Like, it's up to each of us to say, this is what I believe and this is what I'm going to do with my life and my finances. I mean, there's definitely things I like, but I would never pretend to know, like, hey, this is what you should do, because then all that does is open up someone to blame me if they do something and it doesn't work out, right? It's like that, it's their choice in the end what they need to do.
Yeah, we talk about a framework inside the CCA called CASE, and I think that this is typically how I answer that question. First of all, it's like, yes, this is not a right or wrong answer. This is a preference, and I can't make your preference. I don't know everything that's involved with your preferences, right?
Right.
But one of the things we talk about is this
Here we
framework.
go.
CASE. Here we go. Getting to bust it out. So collect, analyze, strategize, and then execute, right? But what do we want to do when we're asking that question? We want to skip right here.
Yep.
We don't want to take the time to collect the data, to really understand it. What do I want? These are hard questions. We just want to skip right to strategize and execute, because it's much easier to ask someone else, what should I do? And then take that strategy and execute on it.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think, to be honest, like, people are going straight to execute. That's why they're asking you to tell them what to do.
That's right.
Like they're just saying, like, tell me the strategy I should use, and then I'll just execute on it.
Tell me what strategy and I'll just go execute on it. So.
Exactly. Yeah.
Oh man. No, it's great. This is a great framework,
right? Like, I mean, it's not like I've 100% done that in my life. It takes some time to actually recognize that's what you're doing.
I violate this constantly, right? But the problem is we don't have a good framework for understanding that. And so that's what we learn in the CCA. That's what we learn in the Whale Club. If this is any interest of you or to you, go check us out at blockchainwhales.com. We've got a YouTube